Hello, sports fans, and welcome back to the NRL Supercoach BDE podcast. We are the best draft experts here to talk about how the Knights are going to dominate this season.
Yep.
Are we?
We're actually
That was
here
good.
with the boys back nice and quick after the last potty to jump into the Vegas round one team announcements. How exciting is it, Todd Mount, as he coughs his guts up?
Mate, very exciting. Very, very exciting. Footy's just around the corner, mate. I can feel it. The wires are up first thing on Sunday, 10 a.m. local time, and I'm looking forward to it, mate.
Beautiful, mate. And to our other wet blanket, what are your thoughts?
Look, there'll be no wet blanket this time around, boys. As soon as footy gets this close, it just gets good. So, bloody keen, mate. Bloody keen.
Are you? Are you really?
I am, actually. I take it all back.
I've just flipped this around to our resident spots. There we go. Feels right, man. Yeah, he's up. You're up and about, Simo. We talked you into it, mate. Very good.
I am.
All right, boys. No, you can't. We'll never go back there again, mate. It's all excitement about footy. I just can't wait for the first Friday night doubleheader after a long day's work in the near future. It's going to be awesome. All right. We'll cover a bit of injury-related news as well, but let's dive straight in. Up the wires, says the Todd Mount.
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
The round one team, mate. Not too many surprises in my book in terms of what we're expecting to be named. Your boy Laban did not get up, fella.
No, it doesn't even look like he's even gone over, to be honest. I think he might have picked up. We were talking pre-podcast. Sim and I must have picked up some kind of injury in that All-Stars game because he's not even in the extended. He was definitely looking like he was going to be starting. So it is a bit of a kick in the guts for anyone who did draft Jacob Laban. But I do think I'm an owner and I will be holding on just to see what happens once they get back to New Zealand and back into the swing of things. I think he's got massive upside.
Don't hate it. I think like if you can afford to hang on, he's obviously someone who's there. But Vayamanga is on the bench, Todza. Is there anything to look at there, sir?
With those two bench boys, the two rookies, I think they played about 13 games between them. Both got like really good Supercoach games. It's just the minutes. I don't think they're going to put in too many minutes. So not guys I'm looking to start. If they were to ever get like an edge role, both can play edge, both can play middle. They're a bit of a hybrid kind of players. But if they ever get like their 60 minutes on the edge, you'd definitely be all about them. But as a bench, in the 16, 17 role, probably not.
Bit of a shame, Simo, that you've got 11 through 13 almost with no Supercoach value. That is always sad for us Supercoach tragics. Mate, Aaron Clark and Dylan Walker, obviously we expect him to split the minutes up, but the man that has been hurt the most, because I think he should have been a viable FRF, is Jackson Ford. There was just a sneaky hope he could have snuck that edge spot over near Corey. No good, mate.
Yeah, that's a bit of a tough one for Jackson Ford drafters because, as we know, Kurt Capewell, Moroni Corey, not the most reliable TRFs getting around in terms of fitness. So you would have hoped he could have nabbed the spot over them. In saying that, look, we've sort of just said it there with the fitness of them. You hold on to Jackson Ford. Same with Laban. Like these sort of guys, like they're just one injury away from two really injury-prone guys. So definitely not drops, but yeah, it's hard to be throwing him out there, at least in your starting team for the first week. He's pretty much a must bench now and just see what happens with those minutes.
Yeah, I'd hang on to Jackson Ford because of that FRF eligibility. He could easily still be enough bench minutes here to grind out a 50-plus anyway, and if he ends up with a start, he could be quite a decent FRF option. Just some real basic, I guess a basic streaming option in week one. It sounds a bit weird to say. I can't imagine too many are relying on, for some reason I'm having a blank because I can only think of Chris Randall. Verrills in round one. I hope there's not too many. If we're playing with, if any listeners out there in the 16 to 20 team leagues, shout out and let us know the struggle. But really there for the Coruscant owner, which I am one. Wade Egan's a pretty easy plug and play for week one. Hopefully does enough of a job and usually starts the season pretty well, if not a big concussion risk. Aside from that, Tuapiki Todza. So he is only fullback eligible, but for those playing flex, is he a viable option this week on the wing, mate?
He's definitely an interesting option. I love what he does when he's on the wing. We saw a little bit of it when he came on. Super exciting, can create his own points. He's going to get those hitbacks because they're going to kick to him as opposed to Roger. So he's going to get those runbacks and time to break tackles. If I was looking at him I think I'd look for someone else in my flex spot, like just someone with a bit more upside in the team, possibly. I think Tuapiki is going to be pretty good on the wing, but I don't think he's going to get you those fullback scores that we've seen him get in the past.
All right. And if the Keeney owner, Simo, you are one of those, mate, if you happen to be relying on him as your only fullback, is he an okay enough plug and play?
Yeah, I think he's all right. I mean, fullback, if you are playing the flex, is definitely a lot shallower than what it would be if there's no flex. If you're with a no flex league, then you can probably shoot for someone maybe a little bit better than Tuapiki, but flex leagues out there, like, I mean, I was looking at guys like Will Kennedy this week. So, like, when you're at that point on free agents, I think Tuapiki is going to be more of a safer option, especially with Kennedy against the Panthers. So, there are options at fullback, but they're not great options. So I think Tuapiki is interesting in those sort of circumstances.
Fair play, mate. And just a couple of live listeners, boys, which is always good to see. Welcome along, folks. We'll be looking to build the live interaction component of this podcast. Awesome. We'll see some live comments potentially about people's individual situations. More than happy to provide that live advice. The other big news, and probably the biggest in terms of a selection change, was CHT getting the nod over Tamare Martin. Look, I think, Todd's fair to say, mate, probably Tamare looked very ordinary pre-season, which is a bit of a shame because when he did fill in at the 7 last year, I thought he looked pretty good. It might also be, mate, because Metcalf's pivoted to the 7, I don't think Tamare is a 6 in the NRL.
No, I don't think so either. I think we saw in the trial, he went on the left-hand side, just went missing. Didn't even realize he was playing. And then what Chanel brings is a defense as well. He can do all the same things as what Tamari Martin can do with ball in hand. He can offload. He can distribute really well. But his defense is what gets him in there. And look, fair play. Like I'm all about it. I don't mind Chanel Harris-Peter. I think he's been a very good player for us over the last few years, and I can get behind it.
And we've just had a first live comment, boys. The first of many. Shout out to the man Dursto with a whole year. Good from you,
dickhead.
Yeah, he'll be a regular.
Yeah,
he'll be a regular.
He's around like a bad smell. That guy. I've been trying to get rid of him for 15 years. Holy.
No, he goes good. Goes good.
I love the big dog.
Surely we can block these guys, right?
No, we're happy with all the listeners as long as he's subscribed. If he's not, we're going to give him the punt. All right, over to the Raiders. The big one. If you took the punt on Corey Horsburgh, this has gone spectacularly well, Simo. He is already pretty much guaranteed to outplay his draft price based on he's actually found his way to the starting front row. How good do you run?
Yeah, look, that's unbelievable for Horsburgh drafters, honestly. Like, you would have imagined that Josh Papali would have got a mortgage on that sort of number 8 jersey. This was probably more of a rotation that I would have expected like an hour pre-game, like the 1 hour update. But the fact that it's been named this way is just awesome for Horsburgh because now there's no doubt. Like, he's just looking at that bench rotation. Like, you're looking at Mariota rotating through the middle with Papali. Obviously, Smithies is probably not an 80-minute guy either. So he's going to get, I'm going to say, like 50 minutes at least, maybe more. Like,
he's a lock for 45 now, Simo, and 45 minutes for that man with his PPM and his ability to offload. I have no doubt Ricky is going to have said something to him about his responsibility with the ball because, that's one of Ricky's, philosophies, and he tends to be a bit loose. But I think that'll naturally just happen and push him way up. He's a 55 average guy now. That's easily done. Could be more. Could push on.
Yeah, he's an easy top 10 FRF. No worries.
Big one. Big win. Well done. One of the first big early season wins for drafters. Aside from that, obviously, Tamale is in there with Mr. Hopewadi with, I believe, his child, I think I saw, for week 1. So who knows if that'll maintain. I'm not particularly interested in a Raiders winger anyway, given they're so reliant on kick tries. Unless, look, Ethan Strange, Todza, is there something there? I know we've talked about it pre-season in the 5/8 potty, but I just want to. He's not a guy I would hate to just have stashed on my bench, just in case he makes that leap forward behind that decent forward pack.
I don't mind it that way. I just feel like as a guy, he's just going to be so up and down. Like the roller coaster is going to be crazy, and you're never going to know which week to play him, kind of thing. That's the way I feel about Ethan Strange. Like I don't mind if people are holding on to him and seeing if he can become, that guy. But I just don't think he's going to be that guy. I think apparently his best position is in the centers, and I think Ethan Sanders would be like honestly riding his coattails because apparently he's got a fair bit about him. So. A few down weeks from Ethan Strange, you might be sort of pivoting towards Sanders.
Yeah, true. And it would be interesting. Obviously, Seb Chris just seems to have a mortgage on one of these positions. Don't know really. We don't quite know why. Yeah. Timoko ain't going anywhere. So it's really got to be Sanders ousting Chris, which seems somewhat unlikely. All right, on to the hooker rotation. So exciting to see preseason darling Owen Paddy appear on the bench. Congratulations to the young man. Very exciting time. Looks like he's got a bit about him. I think this is actually a pretty good moment for Tom Starling. And if ever Tom Starling was going to have value earlier in a season than he ever has had before, could bloody well be this one.
This has to be a career high. It's impossible for him.
He has never started the season in pole position, right? Never happened.
It's not past round 15, so this is a PB by a country mile.
It is. Now, I'd love to know what the actual live odds would be for Ricky with the last minute change and putting Starling to the pine. And then for Simo, for you and I in particular, who've been Starling truthers forever, it'll be like, that feels right, man.
Yeah, that'd be sick. Thank God it's not Denny Levi, is all I can say.
I'm so happy.
That was the real worry that we'd see Starling and Levi as
that
combo.
That's right.
Yeah, for the early rounds, it's actually, as you said, quite good for Starling. I think
it is.
Over the course of the season, it's probably not great for his value if you want him for the long term. But as a sort of a plug and play for this week, and like as you got with Coruscant and anyone that's got Verrills and Harry Grant for next week, possibly could look at him as an option for these early rounds. Because I do see him getting 60 plus minutes, and Paddy sort of just. He'll work his way up, Paddy. I think is sort of the long and short of what I'm trying to say. Like, he'll eventually work his way into maybe a 30-minute split. But these early days, Starling could end up playing like almost the whole game, just about until Paddy gets his feet wet.
Yep. I also like your shout preseason, and same advice holds is Ethan Sanders, a decent stash because it may not be far away, as Toddy also just followed up with. All right. On to the second game and the excitement of, let's be real here, this is a bloody blockbuster in its own right. It's come very early in the season with a couple of stars missing from the Panthers in particular. However, absolutely going to be pumped for this one at 2:30 on a Sunday afternoon. So, no Brian To'o, round one. Now, obviously, you're not concerned long term. I don't think it's anything he's going to carry too far in. But, geez, you ponied up a pretty early draft pick here only to see your stud not play, Todza.
Yeah, tough for the To'o owners. Especially you want to get a player in the first, the Vegas round because it's just exciting. There's going to be heaps of eyes on it. And To'o's that kind of guy that can light up Vegas, but unfortunately carrying a bit of an injury. But we get to see Casey McLean and Luke Garner comes into the centers, mate. Everyone's favorite center.
Well, funny, those out there that thought Jesse McLean was a chance just absolutely got shat on from a great height in that really should have been Alamonte hanging on to the centers. So obviously didn't quite show enough preseason. So can obviously be dropped at this point.
And even then, not pivoting to Blaze is pretty interesting too. Like I know he's been touted as the next 5'8" there. Not pivoting to Blaze and sort of going down a back rower route is interesting.
It's interesting. Blaze we will discuss in a moment, Todd. That's a good segue, mate, in that, I think based on the preseason reports, came in under a bit of an injury cloud and also 19-year-old coming to a big club. A lot of the commentary around him not quite being ready. Pretty painful because you'd have thought with the big signing he'd have been the one to jump into that 5'8". But I tell you what, you got to have Jack Cole on a roster just to be sure. I
just to be
picked him
safe.
up today. He's literally just a stash just in case. Because if he comes out, he actually showed a bit in Supercoach last year that he actually knows what he's doing, and he's obviously playing it for the Panthers. They're the sort of pickup sometimes that can just pay off, even if he's just amazing trade bait. Simo, I can't imagine you disagree, mate.
No, because we see guys like this who everyone's got reasons to doubt, which you do have with Cole, because it wasn't this. It was only late in the preseason that we sort of started to take it as he was going to actually start and Blaze was going to miss the first round. But obviously now having it confirmed, like we're all still a bit skeptical, and that sort of opens the door for you to pick up a guy off free agents. And so often we see these guys just kick on and become great value. And you look back on it and go, why did I not do it? Because he's literally free.
That's right.
He's in a good team. He showed upside last year. So when you put all those things on the table, like it's obvious that you need to pick him up and see how he goes. If he fizzles out, Blaze comes back next week, then so what? But you know, that's the risk you take, and it's only upside when you're picking up as a free agent. So honestly, why not?
Absolutely. I think he's one of the easier pickups and stashes. If you've got one of those sort of middling front rowers or a back rower that's not really a chance of doing much, or even a CTW, that's an easy drop for mine to pick up Jack Cole. The other big news is, boy, you want to talk about a contrast in fortunes. Corey Horsburgh has just skyrocketed. Isaiah Papali, Todd, man, that has not gone well.
Yeah, not going well for him. Named in the 15 jersey, and Scotty Sorensen, Liam Martin named to start. It's really interesting with the IPAP. Like, how do you see him going? You know, is this going to be for the rest of the season? Is the rotation they're going to do? Like, it's going to be a tough ride, I think, with IPAP. Unfortunately,
I think the concern I have is that either of those back rowers, Liam Martin isn't always an 80-minute back rower. He does often get little spells of 10 to 15 a game. There's also obviously Sorensen at the latter end of his career that's still quite a talented player. So it is a chance he's there as a mixture between a bit of a middle, bit of an injury replacement, and maybe even a breather of sorts. This is horrible for his value's absolutely torpedoed here. Now, that's not to say it could turn when he gets more time at the Panthers, gets acclimatized, and shows his worth. And yeah, they've got a high standard, their club, but I tell you what, it's not as smooth a path to him as an 80-minute back rower, is it, Simo?
Yeah, there's a lot of moving parts here with the Panthers, both in the backs and in the forwards. It does make me sort of think that, you know, has Ivan Cleary just sort of done the cold water approach and just sort of, let's just take it easy. It's Vegas. It's a big stage. All these new signings like Blaze Salungi, IPAP, we're not going to throw them in to the deep end straight away. We're just going to ease them in. That could be what it is. It could obviously be a lot worse if this continues for a few weeks. We've obviously seen no To'o, no Liam Henry in this team that could come back, and Henry's probably the big one to see what sort of role he would play, because there is a chance that IPAP is being used as that sort of rotation that Henry would have taken. So it's not all doom and gloom for IPAP's value. There is a chance it turns around, but as we sit here today looking at the team list, you can't say anything other than the fact that it is a bit of a hit to his value. There's no doubt about that. But over the course of the year, I'd be okay with him on the bench, but see how we go.
This is that sneaky opportunity, because it could be a one and done for a buy low on IPAP where someone's drafted him. He's very nervous. Simo, you present an incredibly valid argument there, in my opinion, that it could turn. Pardon me, and IPAP could easily just have been eased in, as you've said. Imagine if he is starting next week over Sorensen and plays 80 minutes. You could get him on an absolute steal this week.
Yeah. Has to be low.
Has to be low, absolutely. But if you've just got someone who's a bit team needy going into week one, maybe you can sneak something through. But good shout. All right, that was probably one of the biggest selection bombs. The rest of it, Laurie has maintained that bench role. Obviously, he's a hold if you can afford it and you aren't too worried about the AE, because that could absolutely hurt you. That's really it for me. Luke Garner is a one and done. I don't think any of us are that keen. Simple yes or no, boys?
No.
Nothing doing there. Obviously, Garner, lads, if he ever was to come into the back row again, it absolutely works. Dursto's chimed into my question about buy low. Absolutely, if you have your 2RF sorted and can stash him on the pine. I absolutely agree with that, Dursto. Good stuff, mate. Sharks. This is it. This is an early litmus test as to their premiership credentials, boys. They will, against a slightly weaker Penrith side, they will want to show that they're the real deal here against a quality opposition. So, with the exception, obviously, of Mr. Katoa, who's unfortunately rubbed out for 5 months, Sam Stonestreet
5
becomes
weeks or 5 months?
5 months.
Jeez.
Yeah, really bad shoulder, I believe, is almost like a Rico Simo. I think I picked up from Katoa. Sam Stonestreet, absolutely easiest pickup in the world based on the fact he's playing likely for an elite team. Yep, sure, he may not absolutely explode this week against the Penny Panthers, but he's going to be there for that, 5 months plus. So he's an easy pickup for mine if he's already sitting out there. Not going to go into too much depth there. The rest of it, really quickly, is as expected with Oregon Kaufusi starting with so much front row, Hazelton and Hamlin Uele minutes on the bench. There's really nothing to see there either. No real surprises, boys. That's really all I got for the Sharkies.
I'm just going to sort of touch on the Sharks really quickly because I think they're going to be the team this year that we spend almost zero time on waivers because their team looks so settled, unless they cop a few injuries, but I mean, even if they do, like, if it's a front rower that gets hurt or whatever, like, we're probably not going to be super keen on whoever it is that comes in there. Obviously, any of the backs get injured, then you're keen for the replacement. It's going to be that simple pretty much all year with the Sharks. They're good. They're all owned. Like, their whole backline's owned and should be owned because against lesser teams, they're going to have big days. And, there's not a lot for us to discuss with Sharks for a lot of the season, I don't think.
Yep, and obviously, listeners, will have a look at some start sits. So obviously, Tricky Trindle's probably a pretty risky start this week, I'd like to think, against a good Panthers defensive unit. So if you've got a pivot option here or a marginal call, I think he's a pretty easy sit for mine. Again, I think that's a pretty straightforward bit of advice. All right, boys. So that's, mate, just absolute hype about the matchups there. And Penny Panthers and Sharks, well done to the NRL for putting that on. That's going to be amazing. We're up to look at the live listeners, boys. We're cranking it up. We got five live listeners and climbing. It's all happening here.
Wow.
All right. Quick touch on some injury news. So for those who were concerned that Dean Mariner was going to get ousted by Shibasaki, don't worry about it. Katoni's gone and done himself an injury to save him at the last moment. So start your Dean Mariner or hang on to him with confidence. Katoni, boys, geez. Sometimes he flirts with being a damn good Supercoach player, but is he even worth a bench stash over, say, if you had a chance to pick up Jack Cole? He probably isn't, is he?
No. How long's the injury? 5 weeks?
4 to 6 is what I saw.
4 to 6. I think you can get most of what Tony's going to give you off the free agency most of the weeks, unless you're a big Tony fan breakout year, and sure. But, yeah, most weeks I think you can get what Tony gives you.
I think Stonestreet's an easy one too. If that's your easy pivot to get a starter this week, if he's still out there, he's probably a pretty easy one too. All right. Any other news, boys, before we wrap up? Short and sweet tonight, just to get in this little 2-teamer or 2-gamer, I should say.
Well, I believe that most of our live listeners are waiting for the Listener League draft order to be done live on the podcast.
Yes.
Boom. All right.
So. I don't know, Chris, can you share your screen, or Toddy, you want to share your screen and we might come in?
Redford? Oh, geez, I wish we'd...
Listeners, the sheer synergy going on here with the boys. This is on
fire. We're a well-oiled machine. It's
we are, but the listeners will be absolutely pumped here. So the live draft order for the Listener League, as Todd's puts it together. So as you've heard, listeners, we had the first 9 got their names in, subscribed to the potty, and are keen to go. So we've gone up to a 12-team league due to popular demand. So thank you to all who put their names forward. Listeners, it goes without saying as we grow this potty, if you are a active contributor, as a couple of those were who were selected, you absolutely have a shot of being selected in next year's because we absolutely love this Listener League. So comment, like our posts, get other people to subscribe, get your mum to jump on and subscribe as well, and you're a red hot chance.
This is going well.
Yeah, so while we fire this up, I'll just sort of read out the names. I'll just send it to you in the DMs there, Toddy. So
Okay, cheers, mate.
we'll go with the order that the site generated initially, and then that can be the order we type in here. So we've got Chris. Thank God this isn't the real one because you drew the first one on this randomizer. And Todd, you were second, so that's why I'm sticking yours up.
That's all right.
So give you two, you two in first. I'll read them to you here, Chris. Toddy, we got Joel next, then Jeff, Conrad, yours truly. We got Josh at 7.
Yep.
Mark at 8.
Yep.
Lachlan at 9. Braden at 10. Heath at 11. And Tom at 12.
Beautiful. As Todd punches that in, I did think about the Blaze Talangi situation. Simo, there's another buy-low opportunity early, mate, for someone who is nervous that he may not get that 6th spot back if Jack Cole has a blinder.
Yeah, well, it's the definition of a buy-low, isn't it? Because there's a lot of it's a hard buy as well because there is reasons to be nervous of. I think they'll find a spot for Blaze, whether it is at centre or whatever. But if you're of the belief he was going to lock down the 6, there's definitely questions over that. If I was a betting man right now, I would still say he'll get the 6 back. But the fact that there's a question mark over it does make it a bit tricky. So, you've definitely got a window there.
There is a window, and I just wonder, how does Alamotti figure into this? Because you'd think if he was such a lock for centre, do you think this is just because he is so talented and can play anywhere? Or do you think that maybe that Ivan has a thought that maybe Blaze could fit in the centre spot?
Well, what I think is he's just gone for experience there. So to play both McLean brothers in Vegas, first game or second game of the season, but opening day is a big thing for him to do. So I think going with Garner is probably quite logical if you're Ivan Cleary because he's safe in defence.
Yeah, good defender.
He's an experienced player. Alamotti played a bit of wing in the grand final, if you remember, due to injury. So he played a little bit of wing last year as well when he came in for Taruva and Toto over Origin. So yeah, I think he's quite versatile.
Green.
Can you make it a bit bigger there, Todzer, by chance, mate?
That is about as big as it gets.
If you've heard that before.
Hello.
Yeah. Mrs. Todzer.
No, this is better. That's a lot better what you just did. Yeah, way better.
You do that a little bit more, I guess. A little bit more of that.
There we go. Look at the technology, ladies and gentlemen. Hello.
I'm pleased we started that.
You say, all right. All right, Todzer, here we do it properly.
Yeah.
All right, SPORTSFANS. It's the one you waited for. The randomization of the draft order. Give it a rip there, Todd Mount.
All righty, there we go.
Todd and Red, we've got 1 and 3. Yes, boy. All right. That's gone so well.
Shocking, dude.
Shove that up your Simo for your bloody
very good
robbing us of 1 and 2.
Oh, wow, that's going really well.
That's fantastic.
What a switch up.
Hello, halfback for the Redford. Oh, yeah.
Holy dooly. I don't know. Oh, man, that's so bad, dude.
All right.
We'll
post on both X as well as the Book of Face with the lads. Big draft tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Queensland time for those involved. Cleary, come on down, says Dursto. Can't not comment except for my question about Blaze. Good stuff, Dursto. All right, lads, thank you. That was good fun, short, sharp, and sweet.
Thank
you, Todd Mount.
Cheers, boys.
And as always, get that BDE India. Oh, yeah.